It is 6:30, and this is the June 15th Select Board meeting of Manchester by the Sea. I want to tell everyone that the proceedings of this meeting are being recorded. And we have a busy agenda tonight, and I would like to start it with the call to order and a pledge of allegiance. I thought it would be a good idea to do a pledge of allegiance, the civic ritual that we do in town here before every town meeting. All of our schools do it, and quite a few of our surrounding communities do it, and I thought it would be an appropriate thing to kind of set up a purposeful tone for this particular occasion. So if we could all rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Public comment on non-agenda items, and Tony is walking away, so I don't know what's online, but Mr. Starkey has a comment.
Yes. Jim Starkey, 13 Tux Point Road. The DEP regulations 310 CMR 9.072 states, A, the harbor master or other local official shall provide a written procedure for the fair and equitable assignment from a waiting list for the use of vacant or new moorings, floats, or rafts held by bottom anchor and ramps associated thereto. Our own waterway regulation states, when a mooring location becomes available, the harbor master orders the location to the first applicant on the change list, providing the vessel is suitable for the available location. Boats will be assigned a mooring based on parameters, length, blah, 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 sailor power, inboard, outboard, etc. In late 2025, Sam Philbrook sold his 38-foot sailboat and vacated mooring 5551. Rather than assigning the vacant mooring to one of the 58 people on the waiting list, waiting in line, the harbor master assigned mooring 551 to Alan Sharf, who was not on any waiting list. This is a clear, blatant violation of both DEP and Manchester regulations. It is unfortunately far from unique. There are literally dozens and dozens of mooring assignments that cannot be reconciled with our written regulations and waiting lists. Many are easily documented violations, such as assigning someone from the mooring waiting list to an inner harbor mooring, bypassing the change list. Others are more mysterious, such as the assignment of a mooring partner to Neil Chayette, itself a violation of DEP regulations, a year after Neil died. And these don't include the block of 5 mooring permits that the harbor master gave to a member of the Harbor Advisory Committee under the table to rent contrary to our regulations. After I tried to alert the select board to these abuses last October, the harbor master found fault with my perfectly above board, by the books mooring assignment from 1981 and revoked my mooring permit for this year. The select board, it appears, is willing to overlook official retribution for a wet whistleblower. Is the select board also willing to overlook the cesspool of our harbor department? Thank you.
Okay. Any comments lined up online?
Nothing online. Just ask if people online can hear us. Sarah's nodding her head yes.
Yes.
And a verbal yes. Okay. All right. All right, thank you. All right, Chairman's report and action and task items. We just really have 3 announcements with regard to forums that we want to make sure people are aware of. It seems that June is forum month, at least it is in Manchester. We've had 2 or 3 already. I know earlier this month. And coming up tomorrow is a forum with regard to the Senior Community Center at 5:30. In fact, at the Masons building. On Wednesday, June 17th, is a meeting with the Planning Board and a Housing Production Plan Forum. And on June 25th, there is, I think, the 3rd Singing Beach Bathhouse Forum. It's being held the 25th at 6 PM here at the Town Hall. So everyone who's in attendance, please make note of those and please attend them if you can. Let's see. Next on the list, an Ocean Street recap. And do we have somebody from Fuss and O'Neill online?
Yes, we do. We have Alex and Ariel. I asked Fuss and O'Neill to join us tonight to provide a brief recap of the public process that occurred in the last week or the week before. For those on the board or those paying attention to our meeting tonight that maybe weren't able to participate, to provide them a little bit of a recap of the process that we went through. They're scheduled to complete their report in July, and at that time, we'll have a more in-depth review of their findings. Alex?
Great, thanks, Tony. And could I kindly just request sharing ability? Just sent a note through because we have just a few slides that I think will help recap what we were up to a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, try now.
Great. Yep, that seems to be working. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. And actually, to kick things off, I will, I'll briefly introduce myself and then kick it over to my colleague, Ariel. My name is Alex Maxwell. I'm a principal planner with Fuss and O'Neill, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Ariel, who I'll have introduce herself and kick things off.
Hi everyone, Ariel Sasser. I'm project manager on Ocean Street project, and we're glad to be invited tonight to provide a recap of the community visioning workshop that took place June 1st and 2nd. And tonight we have a few things to cover. We'll talk about the project a little bit, provide some background information. We'll provide a recap of the workshop in Zotra and talk through some next steps. So the town of Manchester by the Sea is undertaking a coastal vulnerability assessment that will plan effort on Ocean Street that, as many folks in the room and in town know, that has experienced repeated flooding, storm damage, dune erosion, and roadway impacts. Fuss O'Neill and our partners at Woods Hole Group have conducted technical analysis and a localized vulnerability assessment. And through this proactive community planning process that took place 2 weeks ago, we have a few goals. Identify practical and permanent solutions for improving long-term resilience of the road, protecting coastal resources, and exploring opportunities for long-term access. I'll just share the top right photo is an image of the project site. So with that, I will hand it back to Alex.
Thanks, Ariel. So good evening, everyone. I'm just going to mention sort of the full remit of our phase 1 work on this project. And it's important to mention at the outset that really our scope of work with this project is really intended to develop some preliminary, or what we might call conceptual design ideas for the future of Ocean Street. So this is very much laying of the foundation, very early days in the overall project pipeline or project development pipeline. Our full scope of work in this phase 1 scope covered, as Ariel mentioned, vulnerability assessment, which was conducted over the winter into the early part of spring, and then this community planning and design workshop, which included this walk and talk, which is shown here on the slide, and then the development of alternative design concepts, which I'll mention in a little bit more detail here in a minute. And then ultimately, as Tony mentioned, a final report out later on this summer. But it's important to mention that this sort of phase 1 scope really feeds into what will need to happen following this phase 1 work, which comes in the form of additional field investigations and survey, additional permitting work, and ultimately schematic design and design development. As well as the acquisition of funding and soliciting of funding and grants, probably several more town meetings, and then the development of construction drawings, and then the implementation of a project. So That's all to say we're very early on in the project development, but the idea behind starting the project this way was to really solicit community feedback from the outset and really have the community feedback and input drive the process forward. So I'll just briefly mention a few of those items that were shown in that flow path diagram. So early on in the project, starting in the winter period here, we conducted a vulnerability assessment. So some folks may have seen our partners at Woods Hole Group walking the site, conducting a roadway centerline survey, as well as a coastal resource delineation survey, and then ultimately the development of future projected coastal flood maps that were localized to the area with the deployment of tide gauges both on the marsh side and on the ocean side, so we could really get a sense for not only what flooding may look like under near-term conditions, but then projecting out into the future, what is the probability of different flood events that may be impacting the area, especially the road and adjacent coastal resources. So that work really helped kind of lay the foundation for the scientific underpinnings behind the project. But very quickly, we wanted to get into feeding this information back out to the community, and then ultimately hearing from community members as to how Ocean Street has historically been used and the adjacent beaches, and then what are sort of the visions for the future of Ocean Street, recognizing that it is vulnerable to not only existing flooding but certainly future projected flood conditions as well. So we, a couple of weeks ago, hosted 2.5 days worth of workshop activities, which were really intended to explore the different ways in which community members might think about adapting the use of Ocean Street and then White and Black Beach over time. As part of the process, we looked to really co-create a range of different potential adaptation alternatives that were grounded in that early scientific work that we did out in the field, and then through some of the flood modeling, really with the aim of developing a shared vision rather for Ocean Street's future. So these are just some images from the Monday workshop that we held on June 1st. We got really lucky with the weather, but what you're seeing here is a really great turnout from the community. We had a really nice cross-section of folks turning out. We used this as an opportunity to show some of that information on flood conditions and some of the coastal resource delineation information, and then walk the site and listen to folks. Listen for how Ocean Street has historically been used by folks, as well as White and Black Beach. Hopes that folks have for the future of this area and being able to use it, whether in terms of access to the beaches or shoring up some of the areas where they've already seen impacts from flooding. This is a good opportunity to really download with the community and hear about potential ways in which Ocean Street may be adapted in the future. And then in concert with our landscape architecture and engineering team members, the second day, at the end of the day, we held a pinup of a variety of different adaptation alternatives to really feed back in a very visual way some of what we were hearing as part of the workshop. So on June 2nd at Town Hall, we pinned up a bunch of different adaptation alternatives showing different parking configurations, ways in which the beach could be configured and nourished over time, different ways the roadway could be configured, just to get some reactions from folks. It's a little different to walk the site and talk about these ideas for the way in which Ocean Street may be adapted over time. It's another thing to see different configurations and sketches of these different types of alternatives. So that's what we did on day 2. And all of this is feeding into the next phase of our work, which is to really take all of that feedback together, take all the reactions that we got to the different adaptation alternatives that were shown via the sketch models there and drawings, and develop a preliminary concept that aims to really reflect back out what we heard in terms of community feedback on the roadway itself, on what needs to happen with the marsh, what needs to happen with the seawall, the culvert, parking, the beaches, try and make that into a visual representation of the way in which Ocean Street could look in the future and sort of the phasing of different activities that would need to happen, along with regulatory considerations and potential funding pathways that could fund elements of the long-term project. So as Tony mentioned at the outset, we're due to report out on this later this summer, and we will include mention of the report out date and where folks can tune in for that as part of the project website. And Ariel, I'll kick it back over to you to just kind of cover the other ways which folks can stay apprised of what's going on with the project as a whole.
Oh, so thanks, Alex. So you want to find out about the public meetings, scan the QR code. We have a project website. The town also has Ocean Street project website. Or feel free to email any of us, myself, Alex, Nate, Chuck, provided these emails here. So feel free to reach out, and thanks again for having us present on Ocean Street.
Thanks, Ariel. And we can kick it back to the folks in the room there. Tony, if there are any questions folks have, and just this quick update report, we're happy to field a couple questions if you have them.
I think it was really well attended, both the site walk and the pinup meeting that we held. I like the way that Fuss and O'Neill orchestrated the public process to really kind of walk the public through an initial understanding of the research and site analysis that they had done prior to those meetings, to then actually physically walking the site and getting some real-time understanding of some of the issues that are dealt with down there. Kathy, I think you made a good point to me about just how many cars, drove by while we were walking the street, and how that pedestrian vehicular interaction can sometimes be challenging down there.
Well, actually, I was thinking with the opposite. It was, I was shocked at how frequent, it was like, I think it was 50 or 60 degrees. It wasn't like a really warm day, but it was nice and sunny, and there were a lot of cars that just drove through. And I was shocked, I never felt unsafe, because people were driving slowly because they wanted to enjoy the view. That's why they were there. So I was shocked at the volume of the cars, and the fact that I didn't really feel unsafe at all, because everybody wanted to be there for the same reason, to just kind of enjoy the view.
Mm-hmm. And then the next day, Fuss O'Neill came back and worked here in the town hall all day to take a lot of the feedback that they heard at the site visit and start to put pen to paper, which I think helped take the commentary that we heard the day before with that same group and maybe some new people who came to the second meeting, and really expand on that with some of the visuals that they put together, and keep the momentum moving in that direction. There's still a lot of work to be done. We got some good feedback on some of those visualizations, whether it be we absolutely don't like that approach, or this seems like it could be a good idea, to we really want to prioritize this aspect. And Fuss O'Neill has their work cut out for them over the next month or so to evaluate that stuff.
Is this presentation going to be on our website so that people can see where things are at this point, and in particular the contact information if people want to provide another piece of input?
Yeah, the options that they showed us that were on the wall, are they on the website right now?
I don't think so. Alex, do you know? Are they on your website?
Hey, Ariel, I think we have the scans. We've got the scans digitized for the actual sketches, but we can put those on the website along with the deck here as well, just in the engagement section of our website, and then we can provide static copies as well, Tony, to you to include in the town's website.
Great.
Good.
Tony, I have the scans too on shared drive DPW, so I know I sent them to Tiffany. That was, I think, Friday even, so I don't know if she's actually got them on the town website yet, but we're getting there.
That's great. So there'll be access for all of this information momentarily,
Mhm.
soon.
Mhm.
Okay. And we'll revisit this, was it about 2 months?
1 month.
Or
July,
I
you
don't
said?
know.
In July,
Oh, even July?
Yeah,
I think
Okay,
that's what I
good.
heard.
maybe, it might be mid to late July, it depends on when they put their final report together, but July is the goal.
So in this final report, we'll know what's permanent, or have a good idea of what's permittable at that point versus what the plans are.
Alex, can you answer that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I heard the question. It was just a question about, in the final report out documentation, will we know what's permittable and what's not? If
Yeah,
I heard that correctly.
yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's part of what we'll work into that preliminary concept is just an articulation of the regulatory considerations that would need to be made with a variety of actions that may be included in the concept. So, if it relates to, seawall repairs or a culvert replacement or, some of those design alternatives included beach nourishment concepts or sacrificial dunes. There are very unique regulatory considerations that need to be made around considering the implementation of any one of those actions, and so we'll have notes on that as part of that finalized concept and documentation there.
Okay, thank you.
So I have 2 questions. So I can't remember if it was during the walk around or during the meeting in the conference room, there were residents who brought up to Fuss and O'Neill that there had been a resident-funded due diligence effort from Weston and, I think it's Weston and Sampson?
Mhm.
Weston and Sampson.
Do you have that? I know at the time you said you didn't have that data. Do you have it now?
We do. I think Chuck has provided us with a copy of that analysis that was done,
Okay.
funded by the private property owner.
So when in your final report, I think it's necessary for us to address that, okay? There may be some things that are not relevant in the report, there may be some
Sure.
things that are relevant, but I think it's very important to address that, whatever was in that report. I haven't seen it, and I probably wouldn't know what to make of it if I did. So please address that in the report. The other thing I just wanted to mention is the 2 options that we saw, they were obviously very different because you wanted to get the reactions, right? One had the road, cut in half and the other didn't. I think you got a sense as to the vast majority, I won't say 90%, but I think you got a sense that people would like to try and keep the road open if possible. And that, I heard that from a number of people who don't live in the neighborhood. It's the people who just like to drive through, So,
Right.
it got me thinking about, the types of options, or I'm wondering what types of options you're gonna share with us. I'm hoping it's not too heavy on the road closure aspect and a little bit heavier on the road open aspect. And specifically, I keep going back to how we did the rotunda, that conversation we had. One of the options we had was keep it the way it is, just fix what's wrong, right? And lo and behold, that's what the town chose. We looked at 3 different options, move it here, move it there. They just wanted it the way it was and raise it up to fix the problem. I'm hoping, and I know other folks I think are hoping, that one of the options you might share with us is something like that. We like it the way it is, but it's not working for us right now from a maintenance standpoint. So can you help us, aside from the grand vision, what we might want to do someday, can you help us with how can we keep it as close to what we have? Those are my 2 asks.
Yeah, that's a good. We heard very similar feedback on that evening as far as the reactions to the 2 kind of polar ends, if you will, of what you could actually do with the roadway. We heard a lot of folks kind of speaking in favor of the one way, and what we'll plan to do, just to kind of cover it quickly as it relates to the potential bifurcation of the road, is just make a note at which point you would even really want to potentially consider that as any alternative in the future, and that really revolves around what you're doing with the culvert. replacing the culvert. But as part of that preliminary concept, it's our intention to advance forward the one-way portion of what was shown on the SketchUps that evening.
Can you also make sure to include keeping it, if you were to keep it two-way direction, like it is now, is I think what Kathy's asking, is make sure we evaluate, if we were to keep it two-way, you know, what would it take to make that possible? What are you sacrificing as to the other items that we might have heard through the process?
Yeah, because I'm someone who grew up on, I'll be honest with you, I grew up on a one-way street, okay? So I know what it's like, a little bit of an inconvenience, but I lived in a city and I could just go around the block. Okay, Ocean Street is really long, so it's, you'd have to think carefully, and it is something you might want to try temporarily. But again, one of the options I think we'd like to see is how can we keep it the way it is, because everybody loves it, and that includes keeping it two-way if possible.
I mean, we could make it one way after Victoria Lane. You know what I mean? So those people could get out, and then, I mean, the rest of it, there's nobody until the very end anyway.
I did hear is that an experiment that won't be done prior to your report, I assume, because to set up something like that takes a little effort.
Yeah, we're not gonna do it now.
So whether that makes sense or not, you're not gonna be able to judge on that per se on the report.
But I think part of the issue was the way the one-way was presented, I think, presented a problem. The direction that was advocated or suggested presented a problem because of the way the Shark's Mouth Estate events spill out onto Ocean Street. That's their exit. And the recommended one-way was opposite of what would be needed. So there are some specifics, and I know they got some specific feedback from the residents to help with that stuff.
Chuck, just off the top of your head, do you have any idea what it costs for the Band-Aid approach we've been using the past years to just continually repair and replace?
Well, so there were several years there where we were doing, $10,000 to $20,000 worth of repairs, maintenance every year. I think, what a lot of people want is, something much more substantial than that. So I think that's, something to keep in mind, as we look ahead. So yeah, I think that's part of it. And there was some suggestions during the charrette where we could, get a scope from Fuss O'Neill or their subs and start looking more at the I would call it more than a Band-Aid approach, but at least we would be able to put a much finer point and scope on the repairs that are necessary to do what I think Kathy and Tony are talking about, which is bring it up to a more existing condition, but more appropriate level of
No, I get that, but I'm just curious as what we've been spending to date.
That much.
Just
No, it's 20.
Yeah, but to your point, we should outline what have we been spending every year. I mean, I wouldn't expect Fuss and O'Neill to provide that, but when we share the options with the residents, here's what we've been spending every year. What does that look like? And then here are the options, and take a look at it. Look at the data.
If I could interrupt, my hand is raised, and I don't think anybody's monitoring the Zoom. I'll describe myself as the other Chuck, Chuck Furlong from Ocean Street. Alex, this question is directed at you. You said you were going to address what's permittable. To the best of my knowledge, no data has been gathered about the condition of the roadway, arguably from Crow Island to the other end of Ocean Street up by Black Beach, including the culvert. We don't even know how undermined that is. So how could you comment upon permittability? I'm just curious, without the data, how would you go about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as part of the preliminary concept that we want to show, we heard loud and clear that folks would really like to get a structural assessment done of the seawall and the section of road that you just mentioned, along with the culvert. But what we typically do at the very conceptual design stage is highlight the regulatory considerations that would need to be made around the potential improvement of a seawall or replacement of a culvert. It's not as simple as just kind of replace in kind, and so we look to mention as part of the preliminary concept is just what you would have to consider in terms of impacts to adjacent coastal resources, which we did do the coastal resource delineation, and that has impacts on what you can do in terms of permits that may be required from DEP or other regulatory agencies. As well, if anything has to go through and receive state funds or require a state permit, that would trip something like MEPA or the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Act. That would likely trip a whole host of additional information that would be needed by agencies like the Office of Coastal Zone Management. And so while you're right, Chuck, to point out, you would need more information to say exactly what would need to be done to improve the structural integrity of the existing seawall or potentially replace and upsize the culvert. There are, really we want to kind of present this concept plan as something that just gives you a kind of roadmap of things to consider should you advance one of the actions included in the overall concept. And as part of our job, we want to also highlight the potential phasing. So someone was mentioning earlier about make sure there's mention of that the two-way is still an option, and that's true. Nothing would necessarily preclude you from keeping the two-way, but as a very near-term step, one of the most actionable things you can do is get that structural assessment done and of both the seawall and the culvert replacement, and then that may enable you to think through exactly what you want to do with additional roadway improvements, whether that's keeping the road two ways or one way. So as part of the plan, we'll also highlight some recommended phasing of different actions in addition to the regulatory considerations that need to be made around that. But there's a lot that you're sort of limited to just by nature of the context there and what we already know about the mapped coastal resources. So as part of the walk and talk, some folks were mentioning, things like road raisings, and we were able to talk through, how you actually get roadway elevation by having to go out and where you're limited in encroaching into some of those coastal resources. So those are things that can be spoken to even at the conceptual phase. But you're right, as far as any filing, you need to kind of have construction level documents before you make a permitting filing, and we're a ways off from that, but we can kind of paint that picture of, hey, these are things that you're likely to need to consider if you're gonna replace and upsize that culvert or repair the seawall. So that's what we're looking to highlight.
So obviously the report will contain a number of acknowledgements about things that you don't know but might need to know with any of these plans. Any other questions from the board here? Okay, great. I think we're set with this. Did you have a comment?
I do. I have a question regarding this. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to ask.
Depends. Go ahead.
Name
You are.
Say your
You are.
name and address.
No, the question is,
Martha.
what projection?
Identify name and address.
My name is Martha Farmer. I live at 12 Bridge Street, Manchester. The question is the rate of sea level rise that is being used for the predictions of what needs to be done for how far out in advance. And Tony and I were speaking about this the other day. The rate of sea level rise that we are seeing along the whole East Coast corridor is not what was at one time predicted. It looks like it's going a little bit more slowly. And I just wondered what rate of sea level rise is being used in the planning for this project.
I don't know. I guess Alex would have to address that.
Was it Martha that
Yes.
asked the question?
Yes.
Martha, thanks for that question. So the short answer is it varies. And you're right to point out that the projections have changed as far as the sea level rise rates. As you move further and further away in time, the models for what's happening with things like ice sheet melt become less predictable, and there's more uncertainty in them. Ultimately, what was used to inform the future projected coastal flood models was the Massachusetts Coast Flood Risk Model, or the MCFRM, which looks at a number of different probabilistic, not only sea level rise scenarios, but also coastal storm surge as well. And included in the vulnerability assessment portion of the project, where we have a technical memo on that, we actually looked at what are the future projected sea elevations for the 2030, 2050, and 2070 planning horizons. We didn't go any further beyond that because, it's a little difficult to, I think, get many folks that think, that far out and think about actions that, are 50 plus years down the line. That may need to be taken, but it is a useful benchmark to look at. At what point might you have nuisance flooding from just daily high tide flooding, and there aren't many portions of the road that actually are projected to have nuisance flooding until you reach really that 2070 planning horizon. And to your point, those models that are used, they're known as the RCP 8.5 models. They're more conservative climate projected models. They have more uncertainty as you move further out. So it's useful to look at through planning context. It's what the state uses to actually look at coastal flood projections. But it's always worth taking it with a grain of salt, like any of the models. And at the conceptual stage, just really understand, are you likely to have an issue or not when it comes to sea level rise, and if so, where? And that's what some of that vulnerability assessment worked on, trying to understand.
Okay, thank you. I suspect that any plan probably is subject to what the DEP decides is appropriate for a road at that location. And it's not that you can necessarily pick a number. It's whatever they're looking at. So, any other questions? Good. I think we're set, and we're looking forward to 6 weeks, 2 months, something like that.
That sounds great. Yeah, we're looking forward to reporting back out and hopefully reflecting back on to folks what we heard over the course of the couple of days there.
Alex, Ariel, thank you very much for your comments on that. Oh, Ann.
No, not on this topic. If we're done with this topic,
We're done.
often at the beginning we ask if there are any changes to the action items.
That's what I have in my hand here. Yes, I skipped that. So we're gonna go back. I forgot to action or task items, that sheet. Is there anything to add or modify? There being none, I guess
I'll change the target date
that's where we're at.
on Ocean Street options. We'll change the target date to reflect once we have a date from Alex.
So,
Okay, you want to put in a presumptive date at this point, or?
or TBD.
Yeah. You can put in a presumptive date at the end of August at the latest, and then see where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony, maybe an end of week, hopefully in the next couple of days, just getting the content up there on the project website. I think that would be a good action item to reflect.
All right. Thank you. Good. All right. Next on the agenda is the bond anticipation notes. Jennifer.
All right, get your pens.
Oh,
How many things I have to sign?
You have to sign a lot.
Yeah. In practice.
You're gonna have a lot of practice. We just did this like a year ago.
Okay,
We'll be
here we go.
back. We'll be rolling plenty. All right. Right.
It's different than what's in here.
Should we discuss and vote before we
Yes.
sign?
Yes.
Any questions, good point. So
Yeah.
this is
Well, we
a
haven't voted
roll-in
yet. We
of the
haven't voted
same
yet.
band from last year. So it's a bond anticipation note, we're not ready to issue the general obligation bond, we wanna wait until we get a lot of these authorizations.
It's just, I would like to have actually had a vote before we sign something saying that we took it unanimous, voted for it unanimously. So,
Oh,
if I
the
may,
too.
motion, there's a summary motion somebody's
Yes.
supposed to read.
And just
Yes,
for
there is.
clarity,
This is Ann.
I move that the select board votes prepared by Troutman Pepper Lock LLP, bond counsel to the town, and relating to the issuance of the town's $3,829,000 general obligation bond anticipation notes dated June 26, 2026, which are being issued to pay the costs of water system improvements authorized under general law, chapter 44, section 8, and votes of the town passed on April 24th, 2024, Article 8, and May 21st, 2024, Question 1, and excluded from the limitations of Proposition 2.5, so-called, by a vote of the town passed on May 21st, 2024, Question 2. Each, in the form presented to this meeting, are hereby approved.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Everybody's read all of this stuff?
Oh, yeah, I was all over it.
So this is related, so which project is this related to? Is
So
this the Lincoln
last
Street
year, at
well?
the same time I was here, and you signed a bond anticipation note for 4.1 million. It's the water, I don't know,
Meter,
something else.
water
Is it
meters.
the water? This is too much for
Yeah, it
water.
must be, because we're using some of the capital, some of the money we're collecting from the water meters. That's why this one isn't as large. It's the same borrowing, we're just pushing it down the road, and now we're borrowing less because we threw money from the, what are you calling that, the meter?
Yeah.
Replacement.
That meter
Yeah.
collection, okay.
So as that revenue's coming in, as you all know, you're paying quarterly, $25 roughly, then that's chipping away at how much we actually need to still borrow.
So this
so
is
this
all
is
part of
same
that 7.5 million that we
Yes,
voted
it's the
to.
4.1 from last year, we're rolling it forward, but we
Yes.
don't need as much.
So
And
this
then
is
the next time we
reduce-
roll it forward, it'll probably be a little less too.
This is reducing the town's indebtedness.
Yes,
Um,
it's the same bond, it's the same,
Yep.
yeah, note, if you will, it's the same bond anticipation note, it's just we're not gonna need as much now, so we're not gonna end up borrowing as
All
much.
right, and then you will issue a permanent bond
Yeah,
when, like at the end of the year?
we're hoping,
Okay.
like calendar year, like I could be back within 6 months.
And
to get
Fidelity is the one that gave us the best deal here.
This one, yes,
Yes, so I see.
yes, yeah, not
Just so everybody knows, this is the meter project, so both buying and installing the meters. Plus it was our PFAS match for the design contract that we had the EPA grant for,
Mhm.
as well as portions of the Pleasant Street work.
Thank you, Chuck.
Oh,
Thank you, Chud.
okay,
So it's a,
it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we vote yet?
we have not voted
We
yet.
have not voted yet, are there any
Second.
more questions?
I'll second.
Second.
Yeah, Jeff seconded.
Oh, Jeff
Jeff
seconded, I'm
seconded.
sorry.
Ready to vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes,
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And John is yes.
all right.
Okay.
Signed it.
Now we're ready.
Yeah.
All right, another one, there's 2 copies on that.
You're waiting for, maybe we'll move you guys up.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the agenda, well, actually, it's
The appointments.
the appointments.
I can't vote on this, something like.
Last one.
How does that mean?
Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation and
Great.
thank you,
Thank
Chuck,
you very
for
much, Jen.
clarification.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, we will.
See
Next
you in
year.
December.
All right, why don't we move ahead on the action items to E, fiscal year 27 appointments, because we have a couple of guests here who have been very patient with regard to that. And Tony, let me see, we've got a list of folks.
Yes, we have a number of reappointments to make over this meeting and the next couple meetings. It's the end of the calendar year, so we have term lengths that are expiring. We have existing open seats. We have different categories of appointments, whether it be a simple reappointment from an incumbent who seeks to be appointed again, and there be no other interest in the seat, to having more applicants for a particular board than seats are available. So we're trying to break it up into separate categories. So tonight what we're doing is appointments who the terms are ending June 30th, 2026. And the incumbent is interested in serving again, and we haven't received any additional interest. We also have 2 residents here who are interested in joining the Conservation Commission, for which we have 2 open seats. We moved the Conservation Commission appointments up to tonight because we have received the NOI application from SLV for the School Street development, which requires us to hear that within 21 days, which puts that meeting on June 30th. And because of the Mullins rule, any members participating in that process and ultimately voting on that process have to participate in each meeting. So we're moving conservation up into this category to accomplish those tonight. You have the list in front of you for the appointments. Speaking to the 2 residents that are here tonight, we have Martha Farmer, who we met on June 2nd. She started in biotech and started a biotech and clean tech incubator in 2010 at the Cummings Center. She has actually has had interaction with the Conservation Commission in her personal life when rebuilding the marsh behind her home, has an understanding of the wetlands protection state law, has volunteered for the town in the past as an election worker, has no issue with the demand of the committee, no issue as far as meeting in person, and also serves on the Democratic Town Committee as well. And as she mentioned, we did talk about the ICPA 5 scenario and how sea level rise is being predicted. And then also Arnold Iola, who's here tonight as well. I met with him today. He doesn't have any previous municipal experience. However, he he works locally in the Cummings Center as well. Moved into Manchester from Northborough earlier this year. Works for a medical device company. Is a former Scoutmaster for 15 years. Has a sincere appreciation for environmental protection and conservation awareness. Is familiar with vernal pools and wildlife protection, has an engineering background, which we spoke a little bit about how that could help with the review of applications and environmental impacts. Is also understanding of the demand of the committee, willing to make that commitment, and as I said, lives and works, lives here, works near here, and is available to meet. We also talked a lot, both really with all members, any potential applicants that I met with, and especially most recently with Arnold and Martha, we talked about the open meeting law and the training that they will receive should they be appointed, conflict of interest law that they'll be, that training that they'll receive should they be appointed. And we talked, generally about, the demand and the importance of being available on these committees and, restoring or continuing the faith in the process of local government and really, bringing a professional, sound, efficient, equitable approach to the reviews and the application process that they would be involved in as members of the commission.
Great. Well, thank you for this. Go ahead.
I have a meta question. In the past, when we've been appointing new people to commissions, we have seen an application from them in our packet. Is there a reason why we're stopping doing that?
No, they did fill out applications. We can make sure we get a copy of those to you.
It'd be nice to have it before we vote.
Yeah, it's probably because we had so many at one time, because we're at the end of a calendar year versus just taking one at a time.
I don't,
Yeah.
the question is not the reappointments, but new people appointed.
Yeah, we had a pretty decent size.
That would be nice to have been able to read.
Right.
If we have a problem though with the mowing law, where if you put that together, we won't meet again until after.
No, I'm not
Making
saying
the
that we won't.
We can make sure that
This is a change, and I'd rather that we stuck with the old.
Right, so when when we asked you to do the interviewing, it didn't negate the need for us to see the qualifications as outlined in the application form.
Yeah,
That's what she's saying.
probably an oversight that they didn't get included in the packet.
And so, the additional people, and there are other slots that need to be filled, and these may be new people.
I think these are all reappointments.
These are all
reappointments with the exception of these two.
The last I remember,
That's correct.
Muffin hasn't been on the select board for at least 4 years.
She's the select board representative to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yes.
She's our, she's our representative to the trust.
Oh.
We appointed her to sit on the trust for us, yes.
She has done for a while.
Yes.
She has done for a while.
I was so excited I found this thing.
All right, so going forward, new folks, you will have the information in our packets.
Yes.
There's no question, okay, all right. I move that the select board appoint the various individuals listed in
May
the
I
appointment
ask
list.
the people, I understand that Tony's done all that interviewing, but they're here, and I'd like to hear in their
All
own
right,
words.
let me just move the motion first, and then we can discuss. I move that the select board appoint the various individuals listed on the appointment list of the respective boards and committees for the terms indicated therein.
Second.
Okay, please.
Mrs. Farmer, Ms. Farmer, please.
Shall I stand?
No, just,
Well, I actually volunteered for this position to fill the gap left by my good friend Jeff Bodmer Turner. And kind of in honor of him. So it's a not your average reason for doing it, but I've been interested in this space for a long time. My undergraduate degree is in zoology, minor in botany, and I did a PhD in physiology and pharmacology, and I thought I was going to be doing marine biology and got sucked into biotech. But I've been really interested in the area. I've been following the ICP 8.5 changes. I've listened carefully to the environmental arguments for the last 25 years. I've lived here for 30 now. And we restored the salt marsh behind our house, which was a non-trivial undertaking. And so I feel like I've participated in an important conservation element for the town. One of the things that amazes me when I drive through this part of the world is how much of the area has been retained as natural. And it's not That's not the job of the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission needs mostly to protect wetlands. But what has been conserved in this area, given how long it has been settled, is astounding, and it's wonderful. We took a walk through, Steve Gang took us up to the SLD planned site today, so I at least had some idea of what it looked like other than on a topographical map. And the diversity is really impressive, and it's a thing of beauty. And so being able to support the work and protection, I would be filling out 2 more years of the term. I'm willing to make that commitment. I recognize right now it's going to be a big commitment. This is not your occasional meeting. I understand that. I recognize that I'm jumping in with both feet into a big situation. So I'm willing to undertake it.
Thank you.
So in many ways, there's a lot of overlap on the passion and the connection to nature and the value that it offers. For me personally, I've been in the industry, private industry for medical devices. And one of the things that I've learned to do in my role in engineering, I play a role in systems engineering where we often focus on how to design the product, how to tie it all together, but also how to manage the risks. And when we're doing risk, we are representing the necessities of patients, which sometimes may be anesthetized, they're not present. So there's a lot of decisions that are being made daily as we design our products and add features that are there to ensure that the patient or the operators are not damaged. Patients are voiceless, we have to represent them. So there's a strong, in my heart, there's a strong analogy to nature, speaking up or trying to represent. Now, we have a mandate, it is very specifically defined, it's very quantifiable, but there's also a lot of interpretation. So in medical devices, you also get used to trying to work within regulation, working with regulatory entities, the interests of companies that are really trying to move forward the industry for their own financial gain, but they're trying to move forward and do something exciting, but also representing the patients. And these processes, this regulatory processes tend to work. And I've learned a lot, and I appreciate those 2 processes of looking at regulation. So medical device to me is somewhat analogous that you're trying to represent someone or people that don't have voices in how you make your decisions. The other part is on the scouting, which 3 years were Scoutmaster, many other years before, amounting to about 14, 15 years, was assistant Scoutmaster and working is playing that role in the commitment where they say, oh, it's an hour a week. No, it's not really an hour a week. It goes beyond that. And so to me, it's a way of getting involved with the community and doing my part as well. So I understand there's a commitment and these are serious matters that need to be considered. And there's a balance that needs to be struck between the needs of the environment, the community, the applicants, etc. And we need people who are willing to look at the data and make fair recommendations based on that. So that's also something that I've experienced for many years. I guess I would be shifting from dealing with the toughest one are the Scout parents.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Scoutmaster might have been a more difficult.
Yes. But other than that, I mean, in this case, it's understanding that there's a lot that I need to learn on the procedural process and the space, but I think there's a lot of analogies that my commitment has been there. I left the trip in Northborough better than I found it. I also had huge support, and that would be my intention here, to just provide that commitment as well.
Other questions from the panelists?
Yeah, just a comment. Thank you both for donating your time to the town. We appreciate it.
Yes.
I echo Jeff.
Okay.
Saying that it is gonna be a time commitment, so thank you for stepping forward.
I know both of you folks pretty well. Thank you, and you're gonna be hitting the ground running pretty fast, more than usual, which is why everything kind of got compressed here. Thank you for bearing with us. So we have a motion, we have a second, ready to vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes,
Kathy?
Yes.
And John says yes. Good.
and I say one more time, thank you very much anticipating good work from both of you.
Yeah.
We're both signed on for indentured servitude.
I understand how that feels,
An
yeah.
apt description.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's, it is a labor of love for the town, and I've never lived any place before for more than 7 years, so I've been here for 30, so it's, you know.
So it's time.
Something's working. Thank you very much.
Well, I think we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can stick around, or you can go, that's fine.
So we have about 25 additional vacant spots.
Is that what the total is that are left for, yeah, okay.
It varies, some committees, have a defined number of spots, some say up to a certain number, so, but it's about 25 openings, I would say.
And that probably bridges there, some of those openings are currently occupied by two-term people that we don't know what's gonna happen yet. And the rest were, well, they were open going into this and they're still open. And so between the two of those, 25, that's a lot, okay.
Only a couple of the committees do we have a scenario where we have more applicants than openings. I will still interview all the applicants for these new applicants, but for those scenarios, we had spoke about maybe a more formal process here with the board, so you could hear from, all the applicants and make a decision yourself. So if that's how you'd like to proceed, we can do
Okay.
that,
I
and
thought
that
we
might
decided
be.
the opposite, I'm sorry, you lost me with that one, because I thought we decided for especially for the non-adjudicatory boards, that you would do the interviewing and just come to us with a recommendation. But we,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do
that's what
that.
I thought we
That's
decided.
what I
With
understood.
the non-adjudicatory ones, yeah, which there
Yeah.
are.
But I think, to Ann's point, we would still like to see the actual
Yes,
application of who
definitely.
it is you're recommending, so.
Are we running into any problems with having a minimum amount of people? Like, are some of these
The
boards?
Board of Health is a problem.
Board of Health, is an issue. We had one applicant who was excellent, newly moved to town, is a nurse in Beverly, but unfortunately the schedule of their meetings, she works day shifts. And we haven't had any others. ZBA, they don't have any associate members. So it's troubling when they don't have enough people to attend the meeting, they can't fill it in with.
So can I ask, did the Board of Health consider changing their meeting time?
I don't know, I can double check with that.
I mean.
Their meetings are what, like 9 o'clock?
8:30 in the
Thursday
morning.
mornings or
Mornings,
something?
if you have a day job, that's tough, I
Yeah.
would
Right,
think,
I mean,
so they
You're
should,
drawing
should
from a
consider,
limited
yeah,
number
I
of
mean-
people there.
yeah, especially if we're having a hard time filling the role. So I would ask that we go to the chair of that board and say, hey, can we be like the other boards and meet in the evening, so someone who has a day job could attend.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And then we have a number of spots that we haven't received applications for. We have been aggressively advertising the open spots. In late March and early April, we've updated online form, we've put it in the Tide, put it in the newsletter, and we also have a signboard at the annual, at the municipal election too. So we'll continue to push, notice out there that we're looking for.
But it'd be nice to push
volunteers.
harder for the specific adjudicatory boards.
Yes.
They
yeah.
need to be what I've seen advertised is, hey, join a committee, without the specifics.
Or just a
So-
whole list of all of the committees.
Yeah, but to your point, the adjudicatory ones are really important. Hey, we need representation on the Board of Health. So be specific, not just a link to the whole list. It's when someone sees, hey, Bike and Ped or, downtown improvement needs a member, that's what gets people to apply, not just, hey, do you have extra time?
Yeah,
you know?
it's usually, like throughout the year, it's usually more targeted.
Yeah.
We're just kind of in this end of year cycle right now where we have so many, so we'll be a little bit more targeted, especially for those
two.
for those two.
Be very
Yeah.
targeted for,
I think Wendy has her.
Wendy. Oh, with regard to that probably. Wendy, yes, please.
Hi, I just wanted to answer the question about meeting timing. They actually did, the issue is we have an existing member who is not able to meet at a later time, and the chair had said we could gain one to lose another that's already sitting, so that was a discussion or a thought process when Peter brought it up.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that the ad I saw in the paper, it did list the positions at one point in time. I saw the positions listed. It just said didn't just say we need volunteers to fill slots.
We have to actively recruit for those adjudicatory.
But the adjudicatory ones need, yeah, they still probably there needs to be a short list of just those as well.
We also talked a little bit about having a table at Festival by the Sea.
Absolutely.
That maybe different committees can sign up for an hour. Members of different committees can maybe sign up for an
That's a
hour
great
and work the table and use that as an opportunity to tell people about.
yeah, do we know what town residents are medical doctors? Can we find that out?
I'm sure we have a way.
Because we're losing the medical doctor on that board.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, we're losing medical office too, so here we go.
Yeah.
yeah,
That, or, a nurse practitioner, someone.
there's a nurse, well, a former nurse.
Well, I think Donna's still practicing nurse practice. I think she's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, I'm sure she's a nurse practitioner. I'm not sure whether she's working, but.
Are there requirements that there be clinicians or?
No, there's no requirement, but
Yeah.
it would be
That's helpful.
desirable.
Well, I know that board deals with a rather diverse set of responsibilities, but certainly clinical is a big part of it.
So just,
Okay. All right, so let's see. Where are we here?
We skipped around.
5B, we're at 5B, the flag policy. Okay, so we have in our folders a revised policy that we all got that I think reflected the comments from our meeting last 2 weeks or so ago. And then I think Kathy provided some comment.
No, so one of our residents had sent in some comments, and I had questioned whether some of the suggestions were actually legal. So I asked Tony to run
okay.
it by our town council. I did not offer any specific suggestions
okay, all right, so
myself
this
to
came
I just
from-
asked if the suggestions that came to us were legal.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Tony, did you have thoughts?
I did reach out to legal. The response that we received is that the first sentence in the suggested language seemed to be okay, which I believe that was. It is understood by all applicants before the select board for flying of commemorative and historical flags that the select board reserves the right to make a determination on what is customary and reasonable with regard to the duration to fly approved commemorative and historical flags as government speech. They did not feel it was, the next sentence they didn't feel was appropriate, however, as to
You can't appeal it.
all applicants,
Right,
you
You give up your right to the First Amendment.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Just wanted to double check on that.
Okay, so the first part, read it again. I didn't,
It wasn't clear to me where the suggestion was
Yeah.
that we insert it into the.
Okay, so probably after, in the red paragraph under commemorative flags, for a reasonable or customary purpose, and then the first sentence of the proposed would go after that. the words reasonable or customary are in the red paragraph under commemorative flags. And I think the sentence that was proposed should go immediately after.
After that, but before, the flag of the United States shall always be displayed?
Yes.
Okay,
Before the following are not allowed.
So this area right here, John, Ann is suggesting after this red area, so it's actually on, under the commemorative flag.
on the commemorative flag section.
Yes, so
Oh,
after that,
Okay.
she's suggesting insert the first sentence of Lorraine's suggestion.
Okay.
So can you read it like all together, like it's gonna?
I don't have it in front of me.
So, and it's just, let's see, is it just the first sentence?
Yeah, so if what's in red, I'll give it a shot, okay? Commemorative flags shall be displayed for a period of time that is reasonable or customary for the subject that is to be commemorated, which determination shall be made by the select board. It is understood by all applicants before the select board for flying of commemorative and historical flags that the select board reserves the right to make a determination on what is customary and reasonable with regard to the duration to fly approved commemorative and historical flags as government speech.
Okay, so I see that copy. The only question I have is that copy refers to both commemorative and historical flags. Inserting it in this spot is just under commemorative.
Right.
And there is a
Okay.
section that is historical that comes after that.
Yeah,
So maybe it should go at the end of both of those. Either you put that in twice or you put it at the end as a separate
Oh, wait a
paragraph.
minute, so this language, now that you say that though, it may be duplicative, so if we.
it really is.
It is duplicative.
Yeah.
You go further down underneath where it says, the select board authorizes the display of commemorative flags and historical commemorative flags as an expression of the town's official government speech through the approval of a proclamation. Don't we have it covered with?
Yes,
the-
that covers that.
I think-
Because the
Yeah.
proclamation is actually the
Government
public
speech, right.
speech
Right.
part.
So she may not have noticed that.
I think that suggestion, that first sentence was put in there to kind of lead into the second
Yeah. but-
comment, which legal has said is probably not a good idea,
Correct,
which
yeah.
means.
Yeah, so
Leave it
let's.
as we have it.
Yes.
As we have. I think
That will
that's-
make it easier to vote on, because
Yes.
voting on something that I don't have
Now
in
we
front of
can,
me.
now we can see it because we've seen
Mhm.
what it is. All right.
Okay.
So you have the red line documents.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments on that?
I think
And Jeff?
I think it's pretty, about as good as it's gonna get.
Okay. It's your motion.
Everything?
trying to help you. Good job.
I move the select board adopt the amended flag policy as written.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
John says yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Good. Until some other strange situation comes up and we take a look at it again. But-
Sure it will.
So, to that end, Tony, this is now passed. And so starting tomorrow, that American flag should probably go up on the pole
Mhm.
above the pride flag
Mhm.
for the balance of this month. And it will go to half-mast on Wednesday for Jeff,
Mhm.
both of them. Okay.
Yeah, I spoke with the fire chief after our last meeting, and
Yes.
he said, no problem, we'll work on getting,
You have to have
adding
two
it.
attachments.
Yeah.
Okay, I assume
So-
he's been working on that, but, okay, so as soon as he can kick that in.
Yep.
We're good with that. Good,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Next one is the Forster flag.
Do we have a proclamation?
Yes, we do,
Who's in the packet?
after the fact.
Yeah.
But, do we have a proclamation
You
of
have the actual
sign?
physical proclamation, I guess.
I didn't see it in the packet.
Is it a
It
secondary?
was signed, it was sent separately.
It was sent separately. Would you like to look at it before we vote?
I think we have to read it, right?
Okay, let me read it.
You may.
Proclamation. Whereas the Forster flag is the oldest known American flag to have been used in the Revolutionary War, 80, and stands as a proud symbol of patriotism, defiance, and the spirit of independence. And whereas the flag traces back to Samuel Forster, Manchester merchant and Minuteman, and whereas on April 19th, 1775, Forster and other men from Manchester marched toward Lexington carrying this flag to engage the British, making it one of the first flags raised in opposition to British rule. Whereas the flag's distinctive design, originally a British red ensign with the Union Jack removed and 13 white stripes sewn in its place, reflects the transition from colonial allegiance to revolutionary purposes, and whereas the town of Manchester by the Sea is proud to preserve and honor this remarkable piece of our heritage. Now, therefore, the Select Board officially proclaims the Forster flag to be flown on the town flagpole in Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts, on July 1st, 2026, from July 1st, 2026 to July, rather than on July.
On July, let's see, to be flown on, that language is okay.
From July 1st to July 5th.
Yeah.
From works better.
Yeah.
From is a little more accurate. To be flown. Well, it's flown on those, on that time period.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I'm not gonna.
Oh.
I'm okay with it.
I'm splitting hairs.
Yes, okay.
Because it doesn't, if it's flown on that date, then you should say on, it should say on July 1st, July 2nd,
Okay, all right.
July 3rd.
I'm okay, Janet, you got the proclamation there, is that
I
correct?
gave it to Ian.
Oh, gave it to Ann. Okay.
So,
You wanna just,
Yeah.
write it in?
just change it.
That's okay.
Handwritten is how they used to do it back in 1776.
That's the only way they did it.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see.
Do we have a
We gotta
vote?
make the motion, please.
I move the select board approve the request from the Manchester by the Sea Museum to fly.
We haven't, we haven't voted on the proclamation, which we should do first.
That, it's
Isn't
both
that what we
included in
It's
the
in
motion.
here.
This on proclamation that effect.
Yeah, at the end.
Last sentence.
It says both.
Okay.
I can stop. I lost my place.
Yeah.
I move the select board approve the request for the Manchester by the Sea Museum to fly the Forster flag in commemoration of the 250th anniversary of American independence on the town flagpole from July 1st to July 5th, and to sign a proclamation to that effect.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
John? Yes. Great, so we'll circulate that around for signatures. So what's gonna happen is the pride flag comes down only on July 1st, and this goes up, they'll just take one down and put the next one up on July 1st. Busy month for flags.
I noticed that they marched towards Lexington.
Didn't quite make it.
They didn't quite make it, they marched towards Lexington.
Yes.
Probably stopped in Beverly. The road to hell.
I think they got a little further.
Medford, didn't they get Medford a mall?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was May. Let's go the long way.
Double check.
Okay. There you go. Okay. Next item is the Manchester Housing Authority vacancy and appointment of Gar Morse.
This is to fill the resignation of Craig McCoy. When, during the municipal elections, there were two write-in candidates. That was Christine Delicio and Garland Morse. Christine Delicio had more votes, was elected to that seat, and then this resignation came in, so Gar is willing to serve in that seat.
Okay. Great. And yeah, any
So
discussion? Okay, go.
I move that the board appoint Garland Morse Jr. to the Manchester Housing Authority for a term until the next annual town election on May 18th, 2027, due to a resignation.
Second.
Any further discussion? Kathy?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I say yes. I know that the Manchester Housing Authority meets on Wednesday. Can you get, I don't know if Gar knows that,
Okay.
but if you can contact him and make sure, or contact Elaine. It's Wednesday afternoon. So that gives them they've got a full board now.
Mhm.
So they're good.
Should be exciting.
Good. I think it should be in good shape. Okay, next is the discussion item, the draft fee schedule, which is very long.
Yeah, so just wanted to give you a preview. Debbie worked on putting this together. As I mentioned at our last select board meeting, we didn't have one master fee schedule. A lot of the fees were housed within each department in their own documents. And we felt it was more appropriate to have one master fee schedule so that when we go through this process in the future, it's easier to kind of manage, any potential changes that we might want to make. So I thank Debbie for putting all of this together. As you can see, there's quite a few.
So I had a question. It just said, like on the very first page of the fee schedule, actually the second page, it says last updated 10 years ago. Am I reading that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm confused about is if this is the first time there's been a consolidation, are we saying that it's just the ones on that page
Yes.
that have not been updated in 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. So are those being looked at, or were they looked at and everybody thinks they're okay?
No, that they're being looked at. Debbie's actually pulled a number of communities, similar communities, to see what their rates are, to check the market on those, and we'll come forward with a proposal if we think there's anything to consider.
All right, so the question, so when Kathy made that question or comment, are these all of the fees for each department, or these are just the fees that have not changed in like 10 years?
The collective list is all, but
It's multiple
by
pages.
section, but it goes
I
by
understand.
department. So this first one that's last updated October of 2016 is just a select board.
Yeah, except that I don't see the select board listed or any other department listed twice. One for the fees that have been updated and one for the fees that have not been updated. In other words, there's only one listing for any given department, so I've got to believe these are all the fees for the department.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
some of them have been changed, or proposed to be changed now.
We know, we had a discussion, I guess, last week was it? For some of them, and so we know that. This is-
I can't remember.
I think that date is reflective of the last change for anything on that list. Maybe not all of them got updated on that
Okay,
date, maybe just one of them
I'm okay
did.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and the others may have been looked at, and we said, okay, we're okay with this, we'll leave it where it is.
So I think what's unclear is, so it's nice to have the consolidated list, so then what is the next step? Are we, because I know we talked about some updates before, I see some notes on some of them, so I'm trying to understand, are you looking for us to change anything tonight, or just to show us
No.
the progress to date?
Just to show you the
Okay.
progress to date, this is what the future fee schedule could
Okay,
look
okay.
like. But we're going
All right.
through a process
All
of
right, so-
evaluating fees.
I did have a question. I assume that there are fees and there are permits and licenses. And I looked at the revenue, and fees are $170,000 a year, permits and licenses are $536,000 a year. This is a lot of money. I'm assuming that the definitions in here are fairly accurate. So if it says permits and licenses, that's the category it's in. So I'm interested in knowing what the top 10 revenue producers are over the last 5 years.
Okay.
Okay?
Building permits.
Yeah.
Well, we know that it may be permits and then everything else is below, but well below, but certainly would be interested in knowing what the top 10 are for revenue and the top 10 are for frequency. In particular, if there's something that's generating like $1,000, but every single one is, it takes some, I don't know, 15 minutes to put this together. There's some things you may look at and say, is this sucking up a lot of time?
Right, I mean, the purpose of, looking at the fees is to make sure that they're at least covering the cost of delivering the service,
So,
right? Not to jack up the price because we can. It's-
so I'll end with the top 10 in terms of frequency and in terms of revenue. Just to see what the story is in the last 5 years.
Are we still not charging for notary?
Correct.
Yeah,
I thought we
that's-
were gonna take, and I
thought we
hope
were-
that's why we're gonna take a look at it.
I thought we were changing that.
I thought
It
we
was
talked about it.
discussed here.
It was discussed.
And I think it was discussed during
The
the
budget
finance
process.
committee budget meeting too.
Because it was raised as a driving factor for the increase in headcount, FTE hours. So that's why I still have a bee in my bonnet that we're not charging for it, because we actually, that was one of the reasons given for adding hours, because there were constant interruptions.
Do you know what other towns are doing that?
I don't, but that would be part of our process of evaluating these fees. I mean, I think this is something that we talked a lot about in the hot too. There are some feelings of, it's part of, it's an action that we do on behalf of the residents. It doesn't take a ton of time on an individual basis. And for what you would charge, it might be, $5 a notary or something small. It's probably not gonna be a huge revenue driver. So it's really more of a policy decision as to whether we wanna be charging for that
I
or
remember
offer the
the
service for
previous,
free.
it was the previous clerk that was here, discussed that, and she said, it depends, if you've got documents, some people come in with long documents, something took, it was a big time factor for her.
But the way because I've used the service, the way they've set it up is they have a specific list of things they will notarize. And if it's not on the list, like, certain legal documents, they won't do it. The prior town clerk said it's not gonna add a lot of extra time. However, when we got a new town clerk, all of a sudden, I keep getting interrupted and I need, an assistant to work more hours because I keep getting interrupted. Different stories from different clerks. So the reason I still think we should take a look at it is because, like I said, it was on the recording of the FinCom meeting, okay? I'm interrupted and an interruption interrupts efficiency.
Yeah, it costs,
When you-
it's costing money one way or
It's
another.
not just costing money, but if someone has to pay for something, they will think about whether or not they want to use that service. And so maybe it reduces the number of notaries,
You can go to the bank next door,
for free, good for them. And then our people will not get interrupted as often. So you set fees to cover costs or you set fees to drive behavior. That's, typically what fees
I mean, I
are
guess
for.
we just need to look at it.
I think, why don't we just set certain times when notary's available? That way there's,
No kidding, but I mean, there's different ways to look at services, right? And so I agree with you.
I think that we're being penny wise and pound foolish here.
But it's, to your point, when you evaluate how you do a service, pricing should be taken into account, and it wasn't for this, so.
Oh,
And I've heard from several people about the increase in the cost of trash bags.
Yeah.
I think this is in that area. And
I think what's one of the perks of living in town.
you want to get something for your tax dollar.
Exactly.
Right, no, and like I said, you should have a reason before you institute a fee. You should have a reason. Top two are cover the cost of the service or drive behavior.
All right, will Debbie talk with Christine and just see what's going on there? I don't know that we've spoken with Christine about this, it was, whoever the woman.
Briefly in a previous meeting, but not with a, full analysis of what other communities do, or,
Okay.
Providing you some detailed information about how much time it takes up.
It's a nickel dime.
Yeah, I do think at the end of the day, it's not really gonna be a big revenue generating fee.
I think it's gonna hurt more than it's worth.
But I'd like Christine to weigh in.
I would like to know, what is the majority of the documents that she's looking at? Are they one time, like, I come in and whatever, or is it people that own businesses that are constantly using this?
That's exactly the
So I
right
mean,
way
if
to
it is like Joe resident just coming in for one thing here, one thing there, and that's free, I'm fine with that. But if it's constantly certain people coming in and using it all the time, then that's a different story.
That probably, because the average person does not have to notarize very many things.
No,
Well,
I think
this
that
is what I'm getting
at.
I think if a business has an awful lot of, a need for a notary, they're probably gonna have a notary.
Yeah, so I mean, your observation is correct. I mean, I don't think, if that happens once a year
To
to
Jeff's
me.
point, we don't know, so we should look at the data, and we should look at have the service provider, look at the data. What is the data
I'm
telling us?
gonna venture a guess that every real estate office has
Oh,
a
yeah.
notary in it,
And every bank.
Multiple notaries.
yes. So,
I live with a
So-
notary.
So just something for, as you guys are looking at the fees, not to change it now, or have a discussion about it now, but, the way we do the parking stickers and allowing all residents to use the beach, if one of these 40Bs comes to fruition, we're gonna have to take a look at that. How we do resident parking stickers, and, whether or not we change the model for having them be allowed in the parking lot for the beach for no
I think
cost.
that, to that point, I agree that we go back to the old way, all right? Because then families aren't gonna be putting,
Six
right now, 6 cars in the one family getting 6 stickers.
Right.
Let's limit that.
Yeah.
One of the concerns that I've heard about is all these, the other thing I've heard too is that, and I don't know if this is true, boaters are now starting to use the Singing Beach parking lot because the time limit's at Masco.
Mhm.
So they're gonna park their car at the beach and then walk back down the hill to get their boat. And so, I mean, my point is we have limited,
That's
and
a
again,
limited
it's
resource.
town parking, so they can use it, they can do what they want, okay? But I would certainly advocate really
We
thinking
should take a
hard about
look
going
at it.
back
We should take a
to
look
what
at
it
it,
used to be.
and if one of these complexes comes to fruition, the other thing we would wanna take a look at is just how we do resident, parking. Because when one of those proposed buildings was adding hundreds of residents, and so when you do that, you might at some point need to go to a neighborhood structure. So for example, the people who are on the other side of the highway, do we want them parking on School Street or central to?
Maybe they'd like to have them be able to go to the,
Yeah, okay, well, I don't want
So
to.
anyway, I'm just
We
saying,
can go into a
Yeah,
parking
it's a
discussion.
can
gotta,
of
Quite a lot.
you gotta
This is-
plan ahead and
this is
put it
tough.
on the list of things to think
All
about.
right, so you'll come back in a couple of weeks or
I have
3
a
weeks?
couple of, on the police department fees, it's just a typo, but I think we don't need resident Allen permits.
Allen permits,
And
yeah.
I would also like to know why a firearms identification card is $25 for under 18 and $100 for an adult.
Because under 18 is an FID, it's not a LTC.
It's not a license to carry.
Right.
Some of these fees are
State
dictated
driven,
by
yeah.
state laws.
Okay.
Right, those are all state law.
Could we at some point distinguish so that the
Make
next,
them understandable to those of us who may not have.
All right, so if the legal authority is a statute here, that means it's probably dictated.
Maybe, I'd have to pull up the statute and see if it gives you like an up to amount.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My next question is, there's a standard format for everything, and then you get to the Department of Public Works, and it's different. There's a legal authority that's,
The
and,
Columns are all different, it'd be nice to have one
Yep.
set template.
and just out of curiosity, a single grave is $600. 4 single graves is $2,400. A 4-grave lot is $3,500. Seems a little odd.
I don't think we have too many 4 graves left, do we?
Yeah, so what's driving that math?
Yeah, what's driving that math?
It's on top.
And this is
Buried on my side.
opening and closing infant graves. I think the town can pick that up under those circumstances. And the Conservation Commission, again, is the planning board is different, the Conservation Commission is different.
The only thing about opening and closing graves is that if it's on outside of normal DPW hours, you're paying someone overtime.
Yeah, but for an infant,
For what?
an infant,
Oh, for an infant, yeah. I thought you meant the whole.
No.
structure.
no.
Just the
There's something so awful about burying infants that,
Even.
Yeah, no, I
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I hope that's one of those line items, there's nothing there.
Right,
right, but
Yeah, we will, we'll work on getting these more consistent. As I said, the inconsistency across the board in each of these departments was,
and they
Significant,
need
so-
to go into landscape.
Mhm.
Because eventually we're going to want to be able to say, here's the existing fee and here's the proposed fee.
Okay,
what else I can
so,
do to make Debbie's life better?
this'll be developed, there'll be more questions next week when we see what you come back with, or whenever you do come back with it.
good first draft though, getting everything.
It's, this is the
Arms
first
around it.
pass, and the next one, then we'll be narrowing down the questions. Okay, so, what's the timeline for this, Tony? Can that be done I think the next meeting is 3 weeks, or should we just,
Well-
it'll be available when it's available?
let's next week at our retreat, talk about this along with some of the other priorities that we have for the upcoming months and try to figure out what the best approach is as far as timeline goes.
Okay, all right. Good. That's the fee schedule. Liaison updates. Jeff, go off.
I don't have a lot, but, you already said the planning board's gonna have their, housing development forum this Wednesday, 6:30. Essex Tech, I'm working on my yearly superintendent evaluation. It'll be due, next week. Harbor Advisory, they just had a short meeting going over harbor projects, and basically we're waiting on permitting, so there's not a whole lot going on there. One thing I did wanna talk about, I've had a lot of people contact me, and I've seen a lot of complaints online about the sewer treatment plant smell. Can we look into that, or see what, it seems to be getting to be on a regular basis, and it's.
We are looking at that. A lot of the complaints as of recent, remember about a month ago, we had unfortunately a scheduled cleaning service on the first hot, really, really hot day.
Yeah, but this
So-
is beyond, I mean, even last Saturday in the afternoon, it was terrible.
When was that? Oh, recently, like 3 days
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah,
But I know that DPW has things in the upcoming schedule related to gasket changeouts and the wood chip bin in the back. So I know it's on their radar, and I can have them give you an update as to where
yeah,
that
if we can
is.
just get an update of what, I mean, we need to look into this somehow, so.
My understanding is it's kind of typical this time of year for these complaints to come in. One, more people have their windows open, they're outside. Two, the wind direction changes, so it tends to come off the ocean into the downtown area. But there's annual maintenance and items that we need to take on at the facility that are, I don't know if they're scheduled per se yet, but they're due in the coming months.
Yeah,
And most of these events, most of these activities or happenings where the odor's there, is that event driven or is it just weather? Because a lot of the times you really can't smell anything, or very little.
yeah, but sometimes, it's like last
Yeah,
Saturday was
there was- I
absolutely.
saw
Oh, well,
Yeah.
maybe that was event driven, they were changing media or something that.
It just seems like it's, over the last 3 months, it seems like it's been a lot more
I
than.
know there was one.
I mean, I know you always get a day here or there or whatever, but this seems like it's,
When I talked to Nate about it a little bit, that bin in the back with the wood chips that is supposed to help with odor, it has a 2-year or 3-year cycle of replacing the material in that. But he admitted that, really you experience a really significant benefit in that first like 6 months to a year of replacing that material, and it quickly deteriorates. And as you get closer to where we are now, due for that routine recycling, it's at its worst.
What's the
So-
cost of replacing the chips?
I don't know.
I mean, it's something we could look at doing on an annual basis, considering the location of the treatment plant, okay? The wind direction, some inland towns because it's something I think that if it's doable and and if it's not too costly, it's something that we might want to look into.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, we want to try to limit the odor coming from that facility as much as we can. Just evaluate the options and see.
Especially when in a couple of years, we're gonna have a bunch of seniors sitting there every day.
well, that's, a lot of the comments have been around that though, that, we're building this here and it's
I think it's something,
terrible.
I think
At
it's something
times,
we ought to
it's
build into the
terrible.
budget and look into as a general annual maintenance thing. I bet old people can't smell anything.
Can you smell anything?
They can't smell shit. Well, we phrased that apparently.
We missed one thing on the fees. If you want to jump back after the
We can jump back now.
liaison updates.
Well, that's.
You want to jump back now?
Yeah, jump back now.
Yeah.
Was that your last thing, Jeff?
That was my last complaint, so.
Cut you off on that. We had at the last select board meeting, there were Board of Health proposed fee amendments, so the Board of Health presents their proposed changes to the select board gives the okay for them to have a public hearing, they then evaluate comments, vote, in favor or against whatever proposals they have, and then it comes back to us for ratification. I didn't have a lot of the answers that you were looking for at the last meeting. Wendy is here, and there was some additional background provided in your packet. So if you had any, the action item here is to give the Board of Health the okay to schedule a public hearing on these proposed fee changes. And if you have any questions, Wendy's here to answer them.
Okay. Let's see, know I saw them someplace.
Page 69.
No help. Here we go. From Ellen Lefkin.
Mhm.
Oh, here we go.
That's all septic related, okay. Yeah, I remember this now.
Ooh, food license.
Yeah.
So there's two options for permitting under septic system. Currently, there's a full system permit for
Mhm.
$460, then separate inspections are completed, and a final inspection. Or
They're
there's a minor
proposing adding
permit.
a minor, is that what they're proposing?
No, they're proposing a whole new fee structure where there are 3 levels.
Well, that's what I,
Right
Oh.
now, it's either the 460
right, or the
or
60.
a minor permit for
Right.
$60.
So they're proposing adding the 230,
Right.
if I'm reading this correctly.
Correct.
So, okay, so what is a minor system permit? Like,
Wendy, can you explain
Sure.
that proposal?
Sure, so currently we have the full system, which is everything from, the foundation, building sewer, out to the leach field and everything in between, so tanks, distribution boxes, pump chambers, sometimes, or you can do that small minor permit, which is usually like the cover of a distribution box, or maybe it's a length of pipe that needs to be replaced. There really isn't an in-between if somebody needed to replace one or both of their septic tanks, maybe a
Okay, so
pump
it'd be-
chamber, or some piece of it.
so one of the tanks, like, might be an example, if they had to replace a tank, but everything else was fine.
Yes,
Got it,
so
got it.
we just wanted to allow people to have sort of that in-between piece because it's been all or little instead of a medium.
Thank you.
Okay, I see. Right, so they are outlined in the grids. You know, it's an email, and then it's also in the grids here in terms of what you're suggesting. So is this something that needs to be adopted now, or is this just in the collection of everything? We just didn't talk about it.
This was one of the proposed
Yes.
changes last week, and you had some questions, so.
Oh, okay.
All you're doing today is, and there's another one here for temporary food licenses.
It's 25 to 50.
And all you're doing today is really
Okay.
giving it the blessing for a public hearing, and the Board of Health will conduct that process.
Mhm. Any questions, comments on that? Okay,
All right, good.
Thank
you're good.
Thank you.
you.
Yep. Oh, okay, so where were we?
Liaison. I got nothing.
We got nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, the school committee, really focused on graduation. And the things that are really of interest to us, I think, are that, their transportation is out for bid. There's strong interest in electric buses. Electric buses are phenomenally expensive compared to diesel buses.
Do they have any grants for that?
They're looking for grants, yes.
Because Essex Tech got some big grants for those, but.
Yeah, they are aware that there's a strong interest in having electric buses and that the only way to get them is through grants.
Yeah.
So.
And usually there's grants for the charging stations too.
Their audit is late and they're not happy with their auditing firm. They will have a new one for next year. And Pam Gordon is currently working on a year-to-year schedule. She has accepted another year.
This is what dates?
This one?
Is this like
This is-
academic year?
Academic year 27-28.
Okay, so she's good through 27, 28.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So 2 years from now,
Yeah.
seems history major.
Yep. It's hiring a superintendent is a big deal,
Yeah,
and
it
they
is.
need to have lots of advance notice if it's not going to happen.
Been there, done
The Board of Health, they're working with Gloucester on a program. In the first year, which is ending July 1st, was intended to make the boards more efficient, and decided that the thing that they would do is to digitize their inventory of permits. They're still trying to figure out how to get that to work through, you've got it right here. SharePoint and OpenGov, and this is at least the second, if not the third meeting that they've said, oh, well, we're going to the IT department to find out how that can work. And they haven't got there yet. Next year, the grant is for social services, and as it turns out, to no one's surprise, Gloucester's need for social services is quite different from Manchester's need for social services. And they're trying to figure out what social services the Board of Health can reasonably provide in Manchester. One piece of information I was not aware of is that Manchester has a significant number of people who pay 50% of their income on housing. And that's way above what is considered reasonable. So they may try and find a way getting the Board of Health involved with that.
That must be a statewide issue, though.
It is a statewide, but it's one of the areas where Manchester is unusually high, given the overall demographics of the town.
Aging population, but also skyrocketing rents and.
Yeah, skyrocketing rents and people on fixed incomes. They're watching the situation, which is discussed involving Wolf Trap Brook. Wolf Trap Brook leads into the marsh with a culvert that's and Black Beach is tested weekly and comes up clean. So if the Board of Health doesn't necessarily see it as the possibility that Wolf Trap Brook is polluted is a major crisis. They are getting bids for testing the water at various spots.
That came up during our,
Yes, it came up during the Ocean Street Walk, and there are people who are convinced that area is a running sewer.
Right.
And there isn't, I haven't seen the evidence that they present. This Board of Health has evidence that the other people don't trust. In fact, neither group trusts each other.
Fuss and O'Neill just mentioned that through their site analysis, they identified that the invert of the culvert is limiting the ability for the marsh to properly flush in and out, in that they said it's possible that another or the source of some of those results of E. coli could be just natural, wildlife that isn't properly flushing in and out because of the culvert. So it could be a number of things.
It would be it would be interesting to find some way to get the two groups together to actually talk about what they're measuring, and
Something productive.
because having, I assume it's the stream team and the Board of Health having a fight is not gonna help the town.
The truth is.
This time, the Finance Committee actually didn't meet. It wasn't that I just forgot to look at my notes. And that's it for me.
Okay, great, thank you, Ann. Kathy, what's up?
Not much, but I'm just trying to keep monitoring what's going on with bike and ped. They're kind of monitoring the potential changes in state law regarding e-bikes and mobility, micro-mobility devices or whatever they're calling them. So they're trying to communicate more around safety through the schools, the newsletters going through the schools and stuff like that. But that, it feels like something's gonna break there at a state level, so they're keeping their eye on that. And I know they're working closely with the police department. I have nothing else from bike and ped or downtown improvement.
Okay. And a couple of things, Council on Aging, today the Cape Ann Community Foundation was here and awarded a check to the Friends of the Council on Aging for $1,500. It was a grant which the Council on Aging applied for. There were like 30-something applicants, and they were one of 7 that was awarded money. So there was a photo op with a big check that several folks had in front of them. And the money is earmarked for coffee. But they felt that was a meritorious objective because it does facilitate sociability and people getting out, etc.
They want to take care of the tea drinkers too, I hope.
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, tea I know is on the agenda as well. So kudos to them for their application working out. The Historic District Commission met on Thursday. They're still pushing around this demo delay program that they may or may not pursue. It depends upon what they learn. They did know that over the past 30 years, there have been 240 demolition permits that have been issued. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because it depends what they knock down. And they have to research that, and that takes a little bit of work. I mean, you know what's there now, but you don't know what was there. And it may be that there will be very few structures that would be worth pursuing, but they're starting to look at these 240 or 50 demolition permits and see what's behind that. And they'll know more perhaps next month or so. In surrounding towns, the number of demo delays that have been pursued are pretty small, like 1 or 2 a year tops. And maybe a quarter of them are successful or something, but in reading down maybe, I don't know, a dozen communities, there weren't more than 2 or 3 that actually, where the demo delay did something. So DPW, I'm chatting with them, they're still kind of on top of things. They're just pushing along things with regard to all of these capital projects, the culvert, the rotunda, PFAS. Chuck has speculative starting dates. I'm not going to deal with any of them because they're all speculative, so I'm not saying anything about them.
All right, that reminds me, the Facilities Planning Committee is now changed to meet on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock. So we're going to be doing so bi-weekly meetings, and the first one is this Wednesday night.
Okay. All right. Well, all those projects are moving along appropriately. So I'm not sure exactly when anything will start. It's kind of still a little speculative at this point. And the library, they met this past week, but there's nothing to report. It was pretty much standard stuff on their agenda. And that's it for me. Tony. Oh, we got the consent agenda. Just the minutes.
Right. Is there any discussion? I move that the board approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
John? Yes. Great. And Tony?
Just some important dates. June 22nd, we have our retreat at the Chowder House. July 9th, we'll be doing a joint meeting with the Finance Committee for our year-end transfers. July 20th, our second meeting in July, that'll also include the public hearing for the water sewer rates. You mentioned a lot of the public meetings at the beginning of tonight's meeting. We are still in the process of union contract, employee contract negotiations. we mentioned earlier about the SLV application to the Conservation Committee, so we had a call with legal counsel and the chair of the Conservation Commission just to ensure that we have all of our process items covered on Friday. Committee appointments, it's the end, committee appointment interviews have taken up a decent amount of time. It's the end of the fiscal year, so our finance department and each individual department is working on wrapping up their budgets. As we met, the BRIC grant, I don't know if that had come up at our last meeting. I'm losing track of time, but we got notified through MEMA that FEMA had approved our request for an extension until August 1st of 2028. We're now awaiting the contract language so we can officially sign that and it become official. Our next steps there are really to push the permitting at the state level, and if all goes well, hopefully we can procure that project later this summer for this winter construction. If that doesn't work out, we have the following winter season. See, a lot of 4th of July preparations. Cheryl and Public Safety are doing a really good job of staying coordinated and working on all of the preparation for the parade and the fireworks, advocating out there for fundraising as well. Change of the season, so beach staff are coming on board, and we're open on weekends and now accepting credit cards at the beach. That is new this year. And summer programs are starting up as well. Parking enforcement is in full swing. Let's see. Land use, the COMCOM specifically, as well as the SLV application, have 4 other filings this past month, so their work is starting to pick up significantly. The planning board's public forum on the housing production plan is this week. And they're working on potential zoning articles for the fall town meeting as well. Let's see.
Someone's got their hand raised.
That's Sarah. She had missed, Sarah missed the non-agenda item opening comment, so I told her you would call on her at the end.
Okay.
The DLS study for the financial management review, we just got an email today that they need to postpone the schedule on that, so I'll reach out to Ann and John on the new schedule. At department head meeting, Sue gave us an update on 13 different grants, whether it be ones that we've are in the process of closing or waiting to hear from. But we did announce that we received a shared streets grant for $684,000 for School Street and connection toward Atwater Ave. We had a call with Senator Markey's office today to get an update on the senior center funding requests, and happy to say that we advanced to the appropriations committee. So there was a lot of applications that didn't kind of meet the criteria, and we did. They hope to give us formal notice of that this week, and then over the coming weeks, and by end of July, we should hear if the Appropriations Committee has any questions related to the project that we applied for and meeting the criteria. But it's a good first step. And they also mentioned that they received a lot of support letters from our municipality. I'm very appreciative of the folks staying involved on that. And then, as you mentioned, some of the DPW, we're talking about, as we are somewhat approaching the final phase of water meter installations and really pushing out notice to folks that haven't had their meters changed out yet, making sure that we get that done and put some pressure on the remaining amount of residents that need those meters. Once that meter project is completed, it's an opportunity for us to look at some of the procedures and policies that we have in place related to water and sewer meters and billing. So that's coming up as well.
Do we know how many or what percentage of folks have not engaged to get their meters swapped out?
Chuck said there's about 700 meters to go.
Okay.
We have about 100 on the schedule for this
Okay.
month. So
Is he looking at a tried and true technique for that? Charge them more to be on the old meter.
yes, well, certainly we have to have some justification for the fee.
Right.
If you don't, we want to get everybody switched over.
Right.
If you don't, then we could charge, some sort of administrative element
Exactly.
of having to actually go out and read the
That's
meter.
exactly my point. Because it always costs more to keep two systems up and running.
Mhm.
So the way to nudge people off is sometimes
The other
they
thing
have to
is,
cover the cost of the service.
we have a contract right now
Yep.
for the installation of the new meters. And so for those who come later, we could be charged more
Right.
to bring that contractor in.
Exactly.
So we're trying to progressively add pressure to get all
Good.
meters installed.
So that's what, they're what, like 3,000 meters, 2,800? I think something, I'm just looking 700, we're 80% of the way. there.
Yeah, we've got a lot done,
80%.
a lot of it done, and the.
It's always the last few though that.
Point of diminishing returns here in the
It's-
last,
Yeah,
the last 10 are
and
gonna be.
sometimes it's very expensive to keep that service up and running.
Those on the new system, our DPW has been able to stop significant leaks that have been notified through the system, so.
Oh, and I would like to get some information, how many people have they contacted because of the system?
Yeah,
I would like to know that.
yep, it's a success story, Chuck has plenty of examples there.
Okay.
We also talked about trash. We finally got a contract from Republic that we're reviewing. There's some elements there that we're going back to them to see if we can get some adjustments there. We have some other contractors that have reached out very late but interested all of a sudden.
I was gonna say, are we bidding this? I mean,
We're not bidding it. We're not required to bid it.
get more than one.
But we've had some neighboring towns that have bid it out and new companies kind of entering the region.
Yep.
Now they're interested in maybe adding us to their schedule, so trying to figure out, what our options are as far as, are we signing a 5-year contract right now with Republic? Are we signing a shorter term? We feel good about the upcoming year contract and our budget. It's the out years that are concerning because it includes a 5% increase per year, which is significant in the further out years.
Did you find out about their sympathy strike clause?
I did. We finally got a copy of that language from their agreement that they signed with their labor union, and it does not include a sympathy clause for union strikes
Elsewhere.
Okay,
And then, as you mentioned, we could be looking at procurement process for Tappan, Atwater Ave, and Central Street Culvert over the coming months here. So, there you go. Thank you.
A lot of construction going on there. Planning for it anyway. So Sarah has been very patient.
Thank you. I don't think your audio and meeting for the remote people started till after the public comment. I was on at about 6:25 and didn't, but anyway, I've learned a lot tonight, so I'm glad to have had, and I was at another meeting, so it gave me time to get home. I just wanted to make a comment about the brick sidewalk in front of Copper Shed that was installed by, I believe, a representative of the owner on Thursday and Friday. My comments tonight are not a comment one way or another about bricks as sidewalk material, but instead, my concern is about process, and in particular, that the fact that that happened in the way that I think it did, I've talked to a couple of people, undermines a number of boards in town and efforts in town. And the first is the planning board, as you know, has a grant to look at streetscapes. We've said in numerous public meetings that we're gonna ask input on the various street material, sidewalk material. I know some people are in favor of bricks, some people are in favor of other materials. The point being, we've said we're gonna ask for public input. The second thing is the Downtown Improvement Committee has met for more than, I think, 20 years and has a sidewalk standard. And we've promised them that we're gonna look in public and think through all of the pros and cons of various sidewalk materials. And thirdly, the garden space that is there was planted actually when Linda Crosby owned the building at the request of the town with town money, and was planted by Teresa Ramirez alone as a representative of the Manchester Garden Club with a whole host of perennials and native plants. And it has now been taken out, and I drove by, but I did not get out of my car. But it certainly has been replanted with a single species that appears to be an invasive plant called English ivy. The concern I have is for precedent and for process and for really discouraging a whole bunch of volunteers who are working on these issues in public. And that a property owner or actually can do something in front of their own property, or any of us could just go down and dig up a sidewalk and put in whatever we want, I think is not something that we should encourage. So thanks for listening tonight, and I hope you'll think a little bit about that. And I know Tony has, and I talked to John, it's a complicated set of relationships, but really think carefully about the way it proceeded, how it undermines volunteers. Thank you very much for taking my comments tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Questions? Comments? A motion?
Motion to adjourn. Is that the motion done for?
I guess.
Second.
Okay.
We can't deliberate on that anyway.
Right. No, just comment, we know what the story is there. Okay, some of it anyway. All right, motion to adjourn second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.